this episode of the Build Insite Podcast, we welcome Kyle Zanetto, a visionary in the building industry and a torchbearer for driven professionals. As the mastermind behind Zanetto Builders and Future Builder Co., Kyle has been leading the charge in crafting beautiful, sustainable homes and fostering an entrepreneurial culture in the building industry. His central mission? To create a future of fulfillment through both top-tier residential projects and enriching educational resources. Listen in to discover how his passion for the building extends beyond the physical realm into the arena of personal and professional growth. This episode promises to be a deep dive into the journey of morphing brick and mortar businesses to fulfilling enterprises that touch countless lives.
I've noticed you've got a pretty fondness towards design as well. Did you ever think you wanted to be a designer or an architect?
Oh, froth it, mate. That's what I love. Like you'll see.
Give us a rundown of Darkitecture as well, because I've been enjoying following that along.
Yeah, so long story short, my first house, the headquarters, we called it because I didn't have an office and I used to work from home, the big black one, I pencil sketched that up. So I still use paper because I'm pretty old school and shocking on computers. So I'll just get A3 grid paper, I'll 1 in 100 scale it, I'll sketch floor plan, elevations, bathrooms, tile layouts, fixtures, fittings, door and window set down in details, absolutely everything on paper. And then I kind of built that house, which was all black. And that was a really successful project. It was kind of like the first big black house in Lonnie that kind of took off. And yeah, made really good money out of that one at the start of the COVID boom and thought, you know what, I'll make good money on this one, I'll do it again. So brought a few blocks in another street and then said, no, I'm going to do a complete opposite house. So I did pretty well all white concrete, timber, flipped it all, spent a shitload of money, lost a shitload of money when I tried to sell it too. So it doesn't always work once. And then, I just kind of found this passion for design and sketching things up and obviously really love black. Like you'll see like all my vehicles or cars or whatever it is, I like blacks and greys. So I said, you know what kind of brand can I come up with that specialises in dark construction? And then I just put the two together. I said, dark and architecture, let's make Darkitecture. Had a good ring to it. And at the moment, because I don't have any kind of designer qualifications, it is just a brand. But my goal for it is to take it Australia-wide and be the leading like black custom home specialist and designer in Australia.
So you'll be an architecture firm. It's basically the intention.
That's the plan.
Yeah, cool.
But it will only niche into dark homes. Like I still obviously have my recommended architects that I work with, and I absolutely love what they do. And it's only going to be a very particular customer that ever wants a black house or like that bathroom you would have seen. We're lucky that client just said, Kyle, do what you want, like for the whole thing. So, I think it's just a little niche and something I place a bit of value and pride into.
Oh, that's great. I can hear the passion as you're talking about it. Like design is something that you absolutely love by the sounds of it. And, what's next? What's the next one look like? I just want to get a little bit of a snapshot and what's in the thought bank.
Oh, it's a little bit slow. For me personally, I'm not doing any D&C projects for a bit. I've kind of focused on the expansion and obviously started up a luxury home management company as well, Top Tassie Homes. So I've taken a couple of properties for that. But I think it'd be 3 or 4 years away before I build myself something again. And we'll just obviously look to attract some customers, which we've got a couple of black ones coming up in design at the moment with the amazing team from Align Design. So you'll be seeing them pop up in the next few months.
Yeah, great. Do you have involvement in the pre-construction meetings with this sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm typically 12 to 24 months sitting on every design meeting, just do a consultation proposal for the clients. So I do like to be there. As we all know, it's good to have the builder in through all stages. 1, to build the relationship, and 2, to make sure it's coming in the way it's supposed to, both structurally and financially.
Yeah. Oh, testament to that. That's something I think we all put a huge emphasis on. That's great. Do you obviously you enjoy that aspect of it? All the pre-construction is something that you quite enjoy and
love it, mate. Absolutely love it. Like my skill set now has been more tailored to acquisition and estimating. So I'm more front end of the business now. And then once we get a job to construction, I typically do a handover to a project manager who's been specifically nominated to suit that project that we know that can deliver it. as required. So, yeah, I'm kind of working with 30 to 40 customers at any time, 15 or so in construction and say 20 in pre-construction. Yep. And we've kind of got a good system in place now to offload that workload once the job starts. I'm not that direct point of contact because I just couldn't manage that anymore.
No, that would be too much for one individual, I'd imagine. But I also remember listening to you, and I don't know if you still take this approach, but just catching up with potential clients for dinner beforehand as part of that process of stress testing that relationship before moving and committing, forward. Is that something you're still doing? And where did that idea come from?
Yeah, well, I actually get quite a few customers from the mainland. So I obviously like to build a really personal relationship with every customer to make sure they like me and I like them first. But yeah, I think it was probably the big black house with the tennis court that Sean built with us. That was the first one. So I think I spent nearly 2 years in pre-construction with them. They'd fly over. We'd end up just getting sloshed basically out for dinner and have a heap of fun, have a heap of drinks. And then, yeah, I have another couple I'm working with from Victoria at the moment. I flew over 4 weeks ago and the night before my wrist surgery, had dinner with them. Then they come back down last week, so had dinner with them again. So it's all about just putting business completely aside and saying, look, we're here as humans. Let's work on this relationship so that when we are doing the project, if a disagreement comes up, we've got that relationship behind and say, okay, we're friends. We know how each other operates. Let's work through this as a team.
Well, that's key. Yeah. The communication bit where you can get to that point of relationship where it's quite easy to have harder conversations and discussions. It's otherwise you'll see people burying their heads in the sand on those occasions, and it's never good for anyone.
Mate, you guys are, obviously, as we touched back on before with Tassie, but you in particular have got a very strong drive with healthy homes down in Tassie. Same climate zone as where I'm in the Macedon Range of Victoria, so I get the climate side of things. But where's your particular drive come from getting involved with healthy home building, high performance, so to speak? What was the pushing factor for you to just get moving with it?
Yeah, so it wasn't like a health related issue or anything that's kind of driven me there. I think for me personally, it's all about whatever I do in life. I'm looking for the next way to step up and do it better. So being an old bodybuilder, like you're always looking to put on more muscle or get bigger. So when you talk about building homes, it's all right. How do we build a better home? So we can build a really structurally sound home, but then what's next? You do your WRB, so you protect your home from moisture, and then we go, right, once we've covered off all those bases, how can we make this home better again? And then it comes to the inside of the home, and you're talking about, like the lungs of the home and providing a better habitable space for the occupants and all that. So I think it's a never-ending journey of, if you love what you do, you will always look to improve. Like you never just put the brakes on and stop. I actually am passionate about this. What can I do and what can my team do to continually get better?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, mate. It's I know we've spoken about this before, but I feel like I'd love to get your thoughts on it. But I feel like there's an actual feeling about the industry now. Guys like yourself, Luke, who plenty of guys involved. But it doesn't have to be passive house, but just building better, the well-being side of things. It's almost like the new age industry that's coming through. I've said to people, I feel like I can actually physically feel it. I don't know about yourself. You have a lot of conversations with people, but where do you think, how do you think things are at the moment with conversations you're having and things you're doing? And where do you see the next kind of couple of years going for the industry?
Yeah, I think we've, like, the last 2 to 3 years, the movement's just started. I think we're like at the very start of the base of the big hill. But the standard of a home that's acceptable in Australia is still shit house. So we had this chat the other day with a heap of people. Like, for me, if I was to define a better building industry, I'd say, right, first we start with better design. Then we put better metrics in place to make sure that the right builder is building the house that's designed. And then we start building the house. Rather than having 2 or 3 inspections, it's all right, let's put a dozen inspections in place. And let's make sure that the building surveyor or whoever's signing this home off doesn't just tick and flick it because he knows the builder does good work, or he's done a heap for him because he's a developer and he's got lots of money or whatever. It's all right. if you're doing waterproofing, let's flood test this bathroom. If you're putting windows in or whatever, let's blow a door this house. Like, it's got to come down to placing more accountability on the builders and being more rigorous with how we actually check them off. So, yeah, I think the movement's started. Like anything, we also have to be mindful that with the price of building at the moment, there is an end of the market that actually cannot afford to build these type of homes. So it is going to be a slow transition. But yeah, like, I think it all starts with one step forward. And as you can see, like, since we've connected and everyone else in the industry, the community's growing. And once the community grows and the information gets back to the customers out there, they'll go, oh, cool, maybe I want this style of home. So it's all about just getting the word out there and making it known to everyone, because it is still pretty new, if you ask me. Like, yeah.
It is.
I think it's one big thing that I love about what you do, mate, is market. You know, we're not all. I think we both love the marketing side of things to do what we're doing, but it's not all about just clever marketing to grow your brand. I know you're clearly marketing, and we all market and should be to our ideal clients and to be building as an identity that we want to be. So Zanetto or Back Builders and Joe Blow, but it's an opportunity. I see it an opportunity. I probably went away from putting the glossier stuff on as much with our business, just due to the fact that I'd rather be able to display to people good building practices, so that they can actually say, oh, okay, this is what an actual blower door test is, or this is how you put together a waterproofing system. I don't know, Sheep put a flood test on his, and we're probably going to pump that on soon for our own platform. But they're the little things that I think that, as you're saying, mate, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you can actually teach someone who has no idea about building better in that remark than you can by putting on the finished beautiful kitchens and so forth.
That's it. And like, I would have spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing, but you can put $10,000 into a really polished video, or whip your phone out and talk about, I don't know, how to detail a shower, and you'll get 20 times the plays and 20 times the engagement on the post you will for something that looks pretty, because education is what people want. The bright, shiny stuff, yeah, it is good and it will attract the customers, but educational content is the key to growing and changing the community. Yeah. So, like you boys know, you can do a super simple detail on site that's like, oh, cool, like even the Pro Climber tape, like how to fold it and use your finger to peel it off. Like, that's just like mind blowing. Like, I've been sitting there trying to peel the corner off for years. Like, something like that will positively affect more builders than a fancy video. There's a place for both, but yeah, education's king.
You're clearly someone who people feel comfortable to reach out to and have vulnerable conversations with, and strangers, might I add. What is the general, what's happening out there from these conversations, if you could just generally speak to it?
Everyone's got the same story. Like, even in the last week alone, I've had multiple hour phone calls with people I've never even spoken to before, who have sent me big, long messages and saying, hey, Kyle, like, just want to reach out and say thank you. Your story makes me feel like I'm not alone. I've gone through all this. I've just been trying to build a house for myself on the weekends while I've been working a full-time business. My relationship's fallen apart. I'm burnt out. I feel miserable, all that kind of stuff. What did you do? Or do you mind just catching up for a half an hour phone call so we can talk about it, to know that you're not alone?
What was the story you shared to get their attention? Like, what that was relatable to them, I should say.
So I basically, I compiled my life into 7 minutes, basically on Instagram. So I said how I grew up, my old man in construction, went to school, fucking froth football and boxing and all that stuff. Was just like a competitive little dude, everything I ever did. And then didn't even know I want to become a builder. Always used to build like your bush forts and make bow and arrows and knives and shit out of timber like you did as kids, because I grew up in the bush. But yeah, went through school and wanted to become an engineer. And then I also worked in a supermarket on the nights and on the weekends. So every weekend I'd be in there, hungover on a Sunday, doing 10 hours at the supermarket, which I held that job for 10 years straight. But most of me close mates are tradies. So I said, you know what? No, I want to be out drinking cans of Monster and smacking techno and getting a suntan. So I ended up just asking a builder who come in, can I have a job? And he put me on the next day. And it kind of grew from there. And, yeah, I ended up just employing all my mates. We just had like a team of absolute lads. We just work hard, play hard, party every weekend. Should be shirts off, techno heaving on the job sites, like smoking darts, like just crushing it. But just being young lads and doing what young lads do. And then I think it got to, I was running 14 blokes or something. I was still on the tools 50 hours a week, plus I was doing estimating. I was my own bookkeeper. I was just absolutely putting the hours in to the point where I was doing 80. I remember one week I did 110 hours 2 weeks in a row on a job, and like that just killed me. But I just did it, and then built that big house, the big black one, and probably halfway through that, like I was just depressed. I was so burnt out. I'd be driving along and I'd just start crying. Like I was just fucked, like just so done. And kind of got to that point. Relationship fell apart. Everything pretty well started falling apart in my life. And that's kind of when I just said, nah, it's either I'm going to go and type myself, which got very, very close to it, or I've got to just completely take a new direction in life. And I ended up seeing sheep that night and ended up taking 2 weeks off work. Like I literally couldn't leave the bedroom. And then, kind of just started slowly digging myself out from there and just invested countless hours into myself, business coaching, all that kind of stuff. And, just started working through all the issues that I'd built for myself.
Do you think that was that rock bottom moment that people speak of, that they experience?
100%, mate. When the worst of the worst, I was barely eating. I was smoking darts. I would get probably 2 to 3 hours sleep because I was eating 2 or 3 sleeping tablets every night and doing that for like 2 months on end. And when you get to that point, that's just like...
Yeah. How far into your building career were you at this point, like from being a builder yourself?
4.5 years. Yep.
And you've obviously, mate, to get to that point, and I've been down similar roads where you could just quite easily like walk away from it all, or I've got a great family network and great mates and so forth that I lent to kind of, and great wife, obviously, that kind of pushed me to kind of pick myself back up and keep going. And it's probably no different from your story, great family network, and obviously Shawnee is a ripping fella and the crew around you. So you obviously, I suppose still the hardest thing to do is to break down and ask for help, is what I'm trying to say, mate. So you obviously found that point where you could actually say to people, I need to actually, I need help here and I need to do things differently.
And I couldn't, it's tough to say, but I couldn't rely on my family for that support. So the night I really crashed, I actually went to Sean's. And I was on his doorstep smoking a dart, crying my eyes out. Like that's what it got to. And then my parents, because of the person who I became, wouldn't speak to me anyway. So I didn't really have anyone else. It was like Sean and me work boys or nothing. So, I remember that night I literally left his doorstep, went to Bolo, grabbed a 6-pack of beer, filled my car up, and I just drove the East Coast. And that car ride was just like, do I take this tree or do I keep going?
Mate.
Yeah,
why do we do it to ourselves? Why do we let ourselves to get to that point of pain before change is something we want?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the ego thing, isn't it? Like you're a bloke. Like I was always taught, I was saying to someone the other week, like I didn't cry from when I was 13 till I was like 26 years old. Like I just wouldn't let myself show any emotion. I was just like, cool, like you just go to work and you just do your job. Yeah, well, that's what men do.
When did you think it happened where you could sort of turn back, reflect, and go, shit, I'm out of this. Like I've found my direction.
Probably would have taken me 3 or 4 months to kind of pull myself out of that hole. When you make a few bad decisions in your life and you get really bad anxiety, you don't kind of feel comfortable going into any setting. Like I'd walk into a cafe and I'd think that the people behind the counter were talking about me when it wasn't happening. Like your own head just starts spinning these stories. So I did a lot of professional development work with people to help me overcome, I suppose, like inner child trauma or stuff that I'd been through recently. And then the biggest thing for me was just owning it. Like once you own it and you go and apologise or try and make amends with every single person, no matter how bad things got, and you just say to yourself, all right, from now on, everything I do is going to positively impact the people around me as well as myself, not just be selfish decisions. Once you do that, you can actually kind of live with yourself better and wake up every morning and say, you know what, like, I'm a good cunt. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the impact I'm going to have on the people around me.
Do you think you're the best person you can be at the moment? Like, are you feeling most comfortable in your own skin at this time in your life?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I'll ever be the best, as you know, like building better homes. Yeah. You're always trying to be better. But now I think that my business and everything is at a point where I can give back, and that's what I'm trying to do with Future Builder and things like this. Whereas before, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, when I was in that dark place, I think it was the start of COVID year as well. I was going through all this stuff, and I signed up 3 really large builds, and I lost $300,000 as well as having that mental stress. So when you have that financial stress that sits above the mental health as well, everything just gets like 10x.
Yeah.
So
this is something that we talked about in the last episode as well. But what would you do now when you're faced with those problems? Like you're faced with a challenge. What do you do when you are faced now?
Pick the phone up and ring someone who's been through it. Like, super simple. Like, everyone has been through what you could go through or going to go through to some degree. So rather than trying to come up with your own coping mechanisms, like just ask for help. Super simple.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
And we say that, and it's obviously, as we've both just said, both done it. And it is a hard thing to do. Unfortunately, some people never do. And that's a grim reality of society, that it is hard and it's getting harder. So, I mean, these conversations are so powerful, mate. So, to say thank you to actually open up like that doesn't even do it justice. But what is just so inspiring, that I get inspiration out of from what people like yourself do, mate, is they actually provide a platform to people to go, okay, well, Kyle's been through that. So I can actually probably do it myself. Maybe it doesn't seem that hard. We've said it before in previous episodes. Kyle's a guy that you can reach out to and talk to, and that's what we're doing here with Build Insite. Whether it's Instagram or whatever, there is people here, like this community. We might keep talking about Instagram. We're not encouraging you to just sit on Instagram all the time, but the community involved with this, and it's the people who are caring and not just worrying about building a healthy home. We're all kind of really invested in building healthy lifestyles. And I think these stories hopefully can sort of paint a good picture of that. Kyle's in Tassie. There's guys all over the country doing the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but, really promising, encouraging things. So, yeah, I think it's an awesome story, mate, that, we're pumped to be along the ride with you, and I know you're about to jet off. You would have possibly gotten back by the time this airs with Anthony. So for you, investing in your business, in education and furthering yourself, it's a massive part of what you're doing, mate. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you're doing there?
Yeah, so like I obviously budget or factor in a budget for each individual team member for $5,000 per year. For their upskilling. I also allow around $70,000 to $100,000 a year for myself within my company overheads to obviously improve myself, because you can't expect your boys to do what you want to do. So leading by example is the absolute king, I suppose, when it comes to running a bigger business. So yeah, I'm constantly growing. I still do come up against roadblocks for myself, with like team pushback and certain bits and pieces, but sometimes like you've got to understand that the boys on the ground are the boys that back you, and sometimes what they know or what they want can be better than what you think as the business owner. So I'm always working on trying to understand people better. That was something I always lacked with working with different personality types, because I'm a very black and white guy. It's like, all right, I see a task, I know there's a certain way that it can be managed and done, but there's 10 ways to skin a cat. So you've got to empower your team so that they get buy into your business, and they're they're going to want to grow your company just as much as you. And that's why I invest in my boys, and you'll see them on Instagram because they're the heroes for the houses we build, not me. That's them. So just pay them back, I think, pay it forward.
For those who are listening and finding themselves relating with everything you've spoken about today, particularly if they're looking for help or they want assistance, Future Builder is where I feel as though they could find that assistance. Could you want to maybe just share contact information, Kyle, before we wrap up, and where people can get access to Future Builder and maybe, some of your own stuff as well with socials?
Yeah, definitely. So as I said, I'll take any phone call. So 0417 555 503. That's my personal number. Flick me a message, hit me up. As I mentioned, I do a shitload of driving. So I've got plenty of time for calls. And then, Instagram handles, Zanetto Builders, Kyle Zanetto, you'll see tagged in under it. And then Future Builder is also tagged in there as well. So like you guys mentioned, you can have all the resources, tools and everything in your world, but that's the asset that's going to help you build a better business. Without having the people around you to guide you down that road and show you the support, you won't go the full distance. So, yeah.
So when can we expect Future Builder? Is it live now or is it coming soon?
Yep. So I only started doing calls to people we're onboarding about 4 days ago. So, yeah, we've only probably got about 20 people signed up so far in kind of 4 days. We're only going to take 100 spots initially because we don't want to be the business that scales past a point we lose the community. So what we're looking to do is build a platform with people that have a value alignment. So I'm doing a one-on-one 1 hour vetting call with everyone that applies to make sure that, like I do with my clients, they're the right fit for us, we're the right fit for them. So you're not bringing bad fruit into the bowl of fruit kind of thing. But we're looking to kick the platform off on the 1st of June. So, it's going to be up and rolling. We've got a heap of experts and people coming in to work on things like mental health and even the food you eat during the day to make you perform better. So it's going to be all aspects of how to be a better person, a better leader, and run a better business so that they don't end up where I did.
It's amazing, mate. You've we could keep talking all day. I'm a massive supporter of what you're doing. We're really looking forward to actually catching up. I think that's possibly next month in Melbourne. And I know you're about to jet off with Anthony to go and see some amazing things in Europe. But we are definitely getting over to Tassie through the year, and hopefully we can maybe have a bit more of a chat again. But, mate, I would love to actually ask you just one last bit of advice that you would give someone that might be kind of, wondering how to get started as maybe a builder or get involved with their own business. What would be your sort of number one tip, mate, to help them on their way?
Yep. Don't get scared of the financial investment in a business coach. For me, when I come out of my hole, I invested $5,000 straight away. So I was working with 3 business coaches full time. And then I kind of picked who I thought could deliver me the best mindset, because the right mindset will be the first thing you need and then everything else will follow, basically. So I get a lot of young fellas say, all right, Kyle, 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a month, whatever the number is too expensive. So I'll sit there and say, all right, I can give you 2 ways to make $2,000 and then your education is free. 1, look at how much you spend on piss and partying every month, or you find your personal financial commitments, audit it, report it, make those savings because it's going to come back to you tenfold. Or if you're running 2, 3, 4 staff, up your overhead, up your hourly rate, your platform's free. There you go. Your tool to run a better business is free. It never costs you $1 again. So don't do what I did and fail through the first 4 years of business working your ass off. Go and invest in a couple of business coaches, do 2, 3, 4, get a feel for what you like, even spend 12 months with each because everyone's got gold nuggets within their platform, and just keep investing in your professional development. That's what's going to make you grow.
Some bloody awesome advice, mate. Man, I just want to say, honestly, thank you for jumping on with us and being more than vulnerable, mate. I'm sure that whoever's going to listen to this, we're going to maybe get a few more phone calls coming your way, mate. But honestly, you're one of the gems in the industry, and we're looking forward to having further chats, buddy. So also thanks for being a supporter of ours too, mate. It means a lot.
Always, guys. I love what you're doing. Always followed your journey and loved how you've reached out. So, yeah, here to support you guys as well.
Thanks, legend.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, mate. We'll chat soon. See you, buddy.
See ya.